Thanks, Trinity. I feel like I'm coming out on a stage of a game show or something. But hey, everybody, I'm Mark. I'm the CRO at Docebo, and I recently took this position about 4.5 months ago. And one of the first things that I knew I needed to tackle was our outbound processes. And one of the awesome things at Docebo is we have an amazing BDR organization that works really hard, really cares a lot, does smart stuff. But because of a failed attempt at entrepreneurship, I had this like idea in my head of an outbound brain. It would be like a singular place that was open where I could put stuff I wanted to, had its own expertise in like data that could bring to the table, that could kind of orchestrate and do these parts of the decision-making process that a BDR does, but most BDRs just don't do them well. And that we could hard code that in and then write really awesome, high-performing emails so that our reps could do what they do best, which is engage in conversations with our prospects in order to get them in our pipeline. And so, I have an amazing CMO partner in Kyle Lacey, who's building all of this awareness and this brand in our market. And that is starting to kick up a bunch of other activity. And those signals, as we know, we're kind of in like a signal-based outbound era right now. Those signals, that's what I expect my marketing team to do, is to kick off tons and tons of signals. And then my job is to collect those signals. But what I'm seeing done wrong a lot, Trinity, is that people are looking at signals as like a singular thing. They're looking at signals as a singular thing. They're saying, okay, somebody changed a job, so I'm going to send them a job change email. Somebody did funding, so I'm going to send them a funding email. Somebody did this. And how I think about it is holistically, is like when we get enough signals, that's when we can turn from what I call cold outreach to outbound. Cold outreach is literally when you are reaching out to a stranger just because you think that there's something that they want to hear. Outbound means that you're warming people up and finding a preponderance of evidence that says that they're in market and something needs to be done, and you have a perspective with which you can approach them that creates value for them. And so I needed like a centralized brain to kind of do this. It's just too much. It's too many dots. It's too many spreadsheets, too many platforms, too many data points for a BDR to kind of like coalesce it all, process it, digest it, and then spit it out in terms of highly effective messaging. So I came to my friends at UserGems, who I trusted for champion tracking for a long time. And I was like, hey, can you guys help me with this? And they said yes. And so this is the new brain that I've created using UserGems. So let's get into a little bit of how we do it. So there's three kind of areas that we're pulling into this centralized brain. One is CRM data. We get a lot of our job change stuff from CRM reports. We get a bunch of closed loss data. We have activity data. There's a lot of that kind of data that's being pushed into the brain from our CRM. Then we have our own data and signals. These are things that we're paying for, but we weren't using really well. Think like demand-based intent score. Like, I don't know if my reps were going into demand-based and looking at stuff, but I can pull it into my brain and score it and weight it and see how that's going to help out, right? Another thing would be Crossbeam. Crossbeam is an unbelievably good idea. There's a few reps that really, really understand it and get it. But in general, BDRs don't understand how to use partner data in order to get better outbound results. And so we put Crossbeam data. So like these are the kind of examples of where we have our own data and signals that we're pulling in. And then we have our user UserGems, and then other third-party signals that we are considering. So we're putting all that into the brain, and then the brain is doing some awesome stuff that we'll show you here in a second. And then we're pushing it directly into the outbound vehicles that we've created for our BDRs. So there's, my VP of BD has a very awesome framework that he thinks about SDRing and BDRing. He's like, there's 5 decisions. Can we pick the right account? Can we pick the right person in that account? Can we pick the right messaging for that person? Can we pick the right cadence for that messaging? And then can we pick the right CTAs? And if you get that waterfall of decisions correct, then you're going to be successful as a BDR. The problem is it's very hard to get that consistent. And that's what the brain's doing. The brain is picking my accounts. They are picking the right people. They are shuttling those into the right messaging. They're giving us feedback on the right kind of cadence that we need to set. And that includes feedback on the CTA that we're using. So now I have all of these things pre-built into the brain so that the decision making is done the way I want it to every single time with every single BDR and every single account with every single process. So the brain is an important governing part of this. And these are some examples of things that we're doing. For example, we have metadata, and we are using our engagement with ads to help score our outbound efforts. People that are more involved and more engaged with our ads rank higher, obviously. And so we want to increase our outbound since we seem to be top of mind to them. We have partner data, like I said, with Crossbeam, lots of great partners that are doing lots of great stuff and lots of overlap that we can use to inform our outbound. We do industry events, right? So if we have like, we see that they're doing other kind of industry stuff, ours or whatever, we pull them in. We also have like really cool things where like, we mentioned earlier, demand-based, they have like engagement scores. We're pulling that kind of stuff in to score these. So you can see this is the stuff. And then what happens is now that I have a brain that scores and weights all of these mechanisms, my team's job is now to add signals every 2 to 4 weeks. So every 2 to 4 weeks, we add a new signal to this list. We weight it, it goes into their scoring, and then we look at to see, is that signal driving results or not? And if it's not, we either weight it down and so that's not as important, or we just get rid of it. And so I think this is like the beauty of the whole process is I don't have to have, I can have multiple platforms that are best of breed. I can have multiple sources for my signals. And the genius to me of what UserGems does, and the reason that they've completely changed as a company from champion tracking to this new kind of outbound brain. I don't know what Trinity wants to call it, but like to me, like my perception of UserGems has completely changed now because I can bring any signal from anywhere, from almost any kind of data source and push it into this brain. And this brain will make sense of it and then use it to do the decision making that I want it to do. So let's look at some of the scoring. You can see right here, we have lots of different scoring. Like for example, if we have 3 champions that we have from other accounts in an account, that really weights highly on that. That's like super important. We have a lot of fans here. We need to go find them and figure it out. But there's things like, for example, have we done have they been acquired by a customer of ours or something like that? Those aren't quite as important. They're not quite as impactful. So you can see that that's scored much less. And so this scoring UserGems helps us with that. We use some data science to help figure it out. But this data scoring or this signal scoring and weighting is what to me creates this unbelievably awesome brain that can make decisions for reps. And like, I see this as this natural evolution of, at first we just weren't consistent with our outbound, and outreach and sequencing and automation solved that. Then as that flooded the market, we got to, okay, we need to be more relevant. And so now signals have kind of like come in and talked about relevancy and things like that. But unfortunately, most reps didn't actually make use of those signals, or they treated them as like a one-off event. I think what we're moving to is like a preponderance of evidence era where I got 6 signals that say that they're doing stuff. I'm not going to overload people with all of that information at once. And I'm not going to like do one thing at a time. I'm going to combine all of these signals into a compact, unified sequence. And because UserGems has awesome flexibility, we're able to, for example, have them write all of our emails. And I'm a big stickler on emails, but UserGems writes all of our manual emails that our reps then are a human in the loop to approve. But we've done things like, well, we can only use 2 signals per email. So we're not like trying to like write a singular email. We're thinking about how a sequence is supposed to work. And a lot of people got this wrong. A sequence actually isn't about automation. That's not why we created sequences at Outreach. It wasn't for automation. The reason is it takes advantage of a very basic human condition, which is when we see things a lot, when we're familiar with things, we trust them. When we trust them, we're more likely to pick them and engage with them. And it's the constant, I'm in front of you, and I'm providing value. Now, it just used to be I need to be in front of you with a pitch or whatever. That's progressed now. I need to be in front of you with value. And then, as we said, we've made that next evolution. And now we're saying you need to be in front of you with the right kind of relevant value, relevant to where I'm at right now. And that's how this scoring works, is it helps us do that in a way that a 24-year-old BDR doesn't have to figure out, manage. We have to train them, make sure that they do it correctly. Like, we're able to train on like the most important skills that a BDR needs, which is like, what do you say on the phone? How do you respond to an objection via email? Things like that, that really move the needle when this stuff is all in place. Now, what this does is we send the 30 highest scoring prospect across all of these signals every day into the right sequence for every BDR. They walk in the morning with 30 people teed up, and the first task on the sequence is, this person's in this sequence for this reason. Would you like to continue? You click yes, and then everything goes from there after they've approved the email. So they're only focusing on the warmest prospects. We have moved away from the days where a 24-year-old has a list of 400 accounts and they are choosing what goes into the pipeline for my $250 million business. That doesn't make sense. We have enough logic, enough data, and with AI now and great partners like UserGems, you can actually now create all of the stuff that you need to create so that the reps don't have to make those kind of decisions anymore. And they're not saying, well, I'm going after Nike today because I wear Nikes and I wish they were a customer. Reason we're going after Nike today is because they have 6 signals that are all highly weighted that have said that this is one of the top 30 prospects that you need to go after. Again, these more signals, more accurate. This is, to me, the new era we're moving into, preponderance of evidence. It's not just anymore about, oh, you changed a job, I'm going to reach out to you 7 times to say congrats and to ask you if you have new budget and ask you what your things, whatever. It's that, plus the fact that they've been on our website, plus the fact that they have a closed lost opportunity, plus the fact that they also are engaging with our ads, plus with the fact that, you know, they're also in the pipeline of one of our partners, right? Like, that is, to me, the honeypot. And the crazy part is, I'm telling y'all, there's way more people like that than you think there are. And the reason that you haven't seen it before is because it's just too much to see. So now we can do actual personalized messaging that we have all that data. This is AI messaging that converts, and we're going to show you some stats that are pretty they're pretty awesome about how good this is working. And again, I don't think it's because UserGems has figured out a better AI email writing engine. My guess is they're using a lot of the same tools as other companies. But what they figured out is what needs to be in that message. And that's where the signals come in, and the weighting and all that stuff is figured out. That's what creates real relevancy, and relevancy is what creates results. And then lastly, we've just streamlined a BDR's job. They're just not doing as much manual work. They're not doing as much manual research. We send the person along with the reasons why this person needs to be in sequence so they can see and they're aware of all that stuff. So auto routing people into the right sequencing, removing the manual work of a lot of research and trying to connect the dots. All of these things have created, you can go back and look at our results from Q3 and our earnings call. We had one of our best pipe gen quarters ever as a company, and we just started this brain at the end of that quarter. So it's already having a major impact. Listen, we're running some plays specifically around like what happens when past champions target accounts, join a targeted account. And again, we aren't just going to reach out just because the past champion goes to the target account. It's got to be other areas and other signals that are showing that, but like, that's a strong type of messaging that works. A competitor replacement. Listen, when we get a count with a bunch of signals, we now go get all of the contacts that we need in order to fill that account up with the right kind of buyers for us to reach out to. UserGems is helping with that. Obviously, when people come to our website, we're de-anonymizing them, and that's creating a signal. And then we're scoring the entire account, which goes into how the 30 prospects are picked. So these are a lot of the kind of plays that we're running with that brain. And you can see how we're using all of this different data to come in. And I think to have a place where we can bring all of our CRM. We can use where we're getting our contacts from, UserGems and Zoom Info, the first party data that we're getting from our emails. Soon we'll be adding in Gong call transcripts that we'll be parsing for specific bits of personalization that will be going into those emails based on prior conversations. I mean, come on, y'all, like that's kind of magic. And then we got all these third-party signals that we talked about, but having a singular place where I can be like, hey, I saw this cool thing. Let's see if it helps. We just shove it into UserGems, then the brain of it scores it, weights it, and then pushes it into the right sequences so that, we can write the right emails with using UserGems, that outreach can send out the right emails for us on the right cadence. And then Trellis is what we use for our automated dialing to make sure we're getting our calls. We're a very call heavy BDR org. So the last thing is like, what are the results? Well, listen, I had a failed startup where we're trying to do something like this. And, the UserGems people are just smarter and better than me on this, but this is like, to me, what I was hoping to do for my customers, and to have someone that helps me do it is just an amazing partner. And one reason why I am so high on UserGems. And come on, y'all, I mean, 11% to 16% reply rates, 54 opportunities. And as an enterprise company, that's a lot of pipeline. This is the type of proof point that I need that convinces me further, like I'm moving down this road. Like I'm just getting my journey started. Like that idea of an outbound brain that's open, that I can push as many signals as I want to, that are weighted and scored for my reps so they can walk in the morning with all of the key decisions made. All they need to do is to review those with their expertise and all the training and everything that we've given them. And now we're off and running toward this type of super fast, impactful results. I mean, that's where you want to be. But can't thank the UserGems team enough. And so I'll turn it back over to them.